Secretary Balsam.
Thought I'd drop in for one of your sermons. I hear wonderful things about them. Unfortunately, I hear other things that aren't quite so wonderful. You're involving yourself in politics?
I find it unavoidable. Given the circumstances in this district, I'm afraid.
I heard you took a group of folks down after the riot.
There was no riot. There was cold-blooded murder.
Everyone knows there were communists in that union.
Do you have any idea what kind of wage slavery that these miners were living under?
Are you or are you not intending to run for a farmer labor candidate in the next federal election?
I have been approached to do so, yes.
You must understand that the Baptist Church cannot have its clergy running for public office and ministering to a congregation at the same time. Is simply not acceptable. There is no place in this church for godless politics.
I'm just quit. Or I've been fired, depends on how you look at it. We have a special guest with us this week. Secretary Balsam from the National Council. Now, Secretary Balsam was just reminding me that it is inappropriate for a minister of the Lord to speak of politics from the pulpit. Well, personally, I disagree, but I do respect that that is the policy of my church. Therefore, I regretfully resign as your pastor. What Secretary Balsam would like me to do is talk about sin and not talk about things going on in the outside world. But I fail to see how that is possible. Innocent men were just gunned down by their own police force. Are we to somehow believe that there is no sin involved? We can't do anything about the nature of sin, but there are some things that we can change. Jesus said, love thy God and love thy neighbor. On these two commandments hang all of the law. Well, 90% of my congregation is on the relief. And the law doesn't say a thing about it. So I think it's about time we change the laws around here. I have therefore decided to run for political office in the upcoming election. I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Scripture, I really wish just to talk to you today very simply about my record, how I voted continually to protect the farms, so burdened with debt.
Douglas.
Oh, that's all right.
I should warn Mr. Young of something before he goes on a little further. You do know they keep a record of what you say in Parliament. It's called Hansard.
I'm aware of what Hansard is, Mr. Douglas.
Then it ought to occur to you that anyone who reads it is going to know you're lying through your teeth.
Oh, this is outrageous. We have rules of debate here,
On
sir.
the floor of Parliament, Mr. Young said, and I quote, the present standard of living is higher than we are going to be able to maintain. We will have to settle down to a lower standard. Now, that is exactly the opposite of what he just said to us right now.
That's outrageous. I've never said such thing.
Oh, you're going to have to be careful about these lies, Mr. Young.
It's right here, right in black and white, right here. Have a look for yourselves, people. Hand them out, fellas. Hand out the books. Right there, page 25.
February 9th, 1933.
Any fool can pull
What is
something out
lower
of the
than
page.
having no income?
After 5 years of steady recession, Canadians finally have something to be optimistic about. In Ottawa, there's a new government promising better times ahead. Mackenzie King's Liberal Party has returned to power with a majority government.
In the Saskatchewan provincial election,
create
the
change.
CCF
And so
has
really
won
the
all
Tommy
but 5
Douglas
seats
story,
in the new
I
legislature,
think epitomizes
making the
what
Liberal
we're
Party
actually
the worst
talking about right
in
now.
their history.
And by watching that film, it reminded me very much that we all have the possibility of creating change one person at a time by fighting for what we truly believe in. I think that the problems that lie in democracy in Canada, the first one is that it's not necessarily a real direct representation, and it's not a direct election for the Prime Minister.
Even though everybody is allowed to campaign, there are those who have all these large backings by different corporations and by the media on who the general public actually sees for running for office and what arguments. And a lot of people, when you ask them, and if they're willing to tell you, what is your political affiliation, you're going to hear Republican or Democrat. And you're not going to hear about, the Green Party and every other party that's out there that's running. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, just that our government has found a way to ensure that our public thinks there are only two people running for office as far as the presidency, and they have the media attention, and that automatically will color our opinion, who we actually vote for. It ends up meaning that we don't have a democracy. The whole thing is rigged.
They give us something, and they create a competition for which we can vie for somebody, one or the other. I don't think Republicans and the Democrats are hugely different, because both are on puppet strings, owned by GE, owned by a whole lot of other people, and they seem to be the ones that get more and more control. The people who don't even care about the political system of corporate-run government. There's the idea of party running where everyone's just voting for their own party because that's what they want. And it doesn't seem democratic to me. It seems almost like it's just a group of kids on the corner, and they're only going for the kids who live in their neighborhood. And we started out with an idea that everyone's voice counted for something, even if it didn't win. And I think I talked with Isaac the other day, in which we talked about Ralph Nader. I voted for him. I think the guy's great. I wanted him so bad. And I voted for him, and someone told me, well, don't you know your vote for Ralph Nader is just really a vote for, fill in the blank. And I said, no, my vote for him counted as a vote for him. And if he doesn't win, that's fine, but at least I know I made the right choice, and the rest of you guys voted in the loser that's beat us down 4 years. Crap.
We are, in fact, their employers. And the Democratic and Republican candidates who seek our employment as our next president are both on record as participants in devolving our Constitution. The clear and responsible mind recognizes significant leaders of change and voices of a diverse nation. They've always been with us. There's no one in this room who is without a friend or loved one, or perhaps some of you yourselves, whose very life was preserved by the change advocacy of Ralph Nader. That's a claim that neither major candidate and very few other men or women of our century can make. We need that voice in education. We need it in environment, economy, poverty, healthcare, nuclear energy, foreign policy, immigration, volunteerism, human rights, and a world of veterans issues that are coming our way. Judge it as you will, the necessary of Ralph Nader, in fact, is obligated to make a run for the presidency. It is the American thing to do. If it doesn't suit your taste, or if it creates an inconvenience for you, there may be a time where other productive options are on the table. So no matter who your presidential pick is, for America, let's demand to hear the challenge of Ralph Nader. Let's demand to hear all the voices for change that represent the needs of all Americans. We must demand it in our media. We must demand it of John McCain. We must demand it of Barack Obama. I'm sick of this high school with suits on called the Democratic and Republican parties. The defining moment really is that whoever you vote for, you better hold his ass to the fire. Putting on pressure, district by district, media outlet by media outlet, that as it is our job, it is theirs to serve this country's great Constitution. The next time somebody says the words, "How dare Ralph Nader run?" you ask them what they did for their country today.